Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at the Magic the Gathering World Championship. I'm Marshall Cyclone. That's Paul Chion, and we've got lined up for you the finals of our featured draft pod. It ends up being Javier Dominguez from Spain facing off against Mike Sigrist from the United States. Let's take a look at those two gentlemen here as we line up for what is going to be the decider on this draft pod, meaning only one of these players gets to come out with that coveted 3-0 record here, Paul.
Yeah, and I am honestly very surprised that Javier has been able to pull off this 2-0, given how poorly his draft went. But, you know, his deck, like we said before, a lot of power. So you just draw your mana, get there. But Mike Sigrist has a pretty nice streamlined deck here.
Yeah, so Mike has drafted a blue-white historic deck. It has some elements of what we'd call a classic blue-white Flyers deck, but this one has an additional twist with it in that it has historic triggers that can help Mike get through for damage, and that is the game plan with him. I have to say I like his chances in the matchup here, given that he's got evasive threats and a lot of them, and he's going to be facing down what ends up being a fairly slow deck here for Dominguez.
Oh, yeah, and there's so much evasion in this deck. I mean, this is classic blue-whites, guys. He's got triple Pegasus Courser, a bunch of other blue flyers, and on top of that, he's got, you know, multiple copies of Academy Journey Mage as a nice tempo play to be able to bounce whatever blockers might be in the way.
A little bit of a slow start here for Sigrist. His first play of the game comes on turn 3 with Pegasus Courser before passing the turn back to Dominguez. But that's a good start. And it's double divination here for Dominguez. He's
Is this
done
a discard?
this before. No, I don't think so.
Because he played 2 divinations, right?
Yeah, I think he might have been on the play here.
Okay.
Or maybe he mulliganed.
He might have mulliganed.
Yep.
Yeah.
19.
In the meantime, no mana up to do anything about this Pegasus Courser, so Mike gets to chip in for the first point of damage in our match. But he really does need to add something good to the board here and keep that pressure going. It looks like Relic Runner is all he can come up with. Would have liked Relic Runner into Pegasus Courser. Instead, he did it the other way around, a little slow for him. Though next turn, he does have access to Cloud Reader Sphinx or an Academy Journey Mage. So a big turn coming up for Sigrist, especially depending on whatever it is that Javier comes up with for himself. Well, it looks like it's a Journey Mage fight. But this just means that Mike can pretty cleanly just run out the Sphinx and be happy about it.
Yeah. Big fan of the Cloud Reader Sphinx. Probably the best blue common.
So there are people who think it's the best common.
Wow, just full stop.
Absolutely.
And I can totally believe it. I mean, this is just 5 mana, just straight up paying 5 mana for a 3/4 flyer is a card that often will make a lot of people's decks. But the addition of that Scry 2 really just puts it over the top.
Yeah, I remember when I first read it, I thought that is a solid uncommon right there. Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you also get a similar sentiment when you look at some of the uncommons in the set. You go,
triple
that's
divination from Dominguez.
Is that one? Is that kind of like Approach of the Second Sun, where like if you cash your 3rd divination, you win? Is that how that works?
It's not. No, okay. It really isn't. And here's an interesting situation for Sigrist. This is one of those times where you look at Academy Journey Mage and really wish you could bounce your own creature with it, but unfortunately you may not. So instead, he's going to go for Opt first, though he does still have the option to play a land, which he has in his hand, and cast a Journey Mage.
Yeah, just trying to see if he can find a better threat here than that Relic Runner that he has in hand. Yeah, very slow start here for Mike Sigrist.
Yeah, I think he's just going to play the Relic Runner, though. Like, casting a Journey Mage isn't super appealing here.
Yeah, Journey Mage is actually really bad in Javier's deck because his deck also plays multiple copies of Deep Freeze. So that is kind of a nombo because your Journey Mages will almost never be able to actually attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just going to settle for the Relic Runner.
Ooh, 7 mana card. Okay.
Ooh, how about a Syncopate for 1? No, Kazarov hits the battlefield for Javier Dominguez, who has yet to find a red mana source. He's got Fight with Fire in his hand and no mountains to be seen. He's only got 3 in the deck, and he's doing it the hard way. I made a joke with you earlier, Paul, but, you know, divination, does that count as mana fixing? Some people like to think of it that way, but it doesn't actually get the job done sometimes.
It does increase the chances that you find your mana at some point. But if you notice there, Javier played Kazarov and then attacked with the Academy Journey Mage into a 0/4 Cloud Reader Sphinx because Kazarov triggers whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, put a counter on it. So you don't actually need to be dealing the damage with the Kazarov. or even use the activated ability. You can just use your normal creatures in combat to pump up the Kazarov.
Yeah, good clean sequencing there from Dominguez. Interestingly, he's got a lot of options available to him. He could just slam Kazarov again, but he also has Syncopate in his hand now, or he could go for Caligo's Skin Witch. Instead, he's going to take the opportunity with the shields fully down for Sigrist here to just resolve Kazarov, and you can't blame him.
Yeah, and Kazarov, I mean, completely brick walls the board here. Just a 4/4 sizing up against, the biggest creature on Mike's side of the board is that 3/2. So Mike needs to find an answer, or he needs to find a way to get that Kazarov off the board. And he has it.
There it is. Deep Freeze is going to send Kazarov right down to the ground and turn him into an 0/4. Still a legend of note.
Right.
And he even gets a trigger here thanks to Howling Goal, and that's going to give him the Relic Runner trigger and make it unblockable until end of turn. So a nice big attack there from Sigrist. Gets in for 6 damage and passes the turn back with Javier down to 8.
Right.
Yeah, I think that look said it all. Javier just said, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good turn, Mike.
Yeah, and Javier cast an Opt and 3 divinations, but still has yet to find a red source to be able to fire off the Fight with Fire in hand.
And Skin Witch might just be for information at this point because he's so far behind.
Yeah,
he's not dead, but he's close.
Yeah, he can't rely on those ground creatures. Mike Sigrist deck is basically all evasive creatures.
Now, if Dominguez is able to find an answer for the Pegasus Courser, he could stem the bleeding pretty significantly here.
Right, he really needs to find that red source for the Fight with Fire. But Mike Sigrist even has the answer to that, as he is holding an Adamant Will in his hand.
Yeah, I think we're done here. Somehow, with 6 spells in hand, Javier Dominguez is just facing down death.
I like how he has another 2-for-1 in his hand in Soul Salvage, but no creatures in the yard.
Yeah, this is another one of the downsides to the way that Javier ended up after that draft that didn't go cleanly for him as he loses game 1 here. Mike Sigrist picks up the win, is that he does have a lot of cards that are just sort of spin your wheel type cards. Like we saw him cast Divination 3 times, and in his hand, like you mentioned, he had the Soul Salvage as well. These are the type of cards that don't do a lot to push your game plan forward in the early to mid part of the game. They can be pretty good late.
Right. And Mike Sigrist's deck just seems really, really well positioned against Javier's deck.
I'm loving how Mike's deck matches up here. It's consistent, it's evasive, it's powerful, and he only needs to win one more game to have that 3-0 start here at the Magic the Gathering World Championships. It's going to be up to Javier Dominguez to win 2 in a row otherwise. We're going to be back with more right after these messages.
Looking for a challenge? Magic Online offers monthly limited and constructed events, which lead to the yearly Magic Online Championship. Download Magic Online at mtgo.com and start earning the points you need to enter.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're here for the Magic World Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm with Paul Cheon in the booth, and we're bringing coverage of Booster Draft. This is the last round of Booster Draft before we transition over to standard play for the rest of the day here on day number 1. We've got Javier Dominguez from Spain having a little chit-chat here with Mike Sigrist. Mike makes it easy. He's one of the nicest guys out on the Pro Tour scene. Always up for a chat, really funny guy. Very easy to get along with. And Javier's going to take the play.
And I think this is actually the best deck for a card like Deep Freeze. Mike's deck is just a deck just chock full of evasion. I don't care if I turn your big creatures into 0/4s. It doesn't matter. I can just fly over.
Wow. You know, another interesting point with that is that Javier does have multiple ways to get creatures back from the graveyard. Right?
Right.
He's got Memorial to Folly, and he's got Soul Salvage. If you Deep Freeze, they don't end up in the graveyard, so that strands those cards potentially.
Yeah, I think one important card that Mike Sigrist will likely have brought in this matchup is he does have a copy of Unwind in his sideboard. And, you know, players do have access to each other's deck lists. And when you look at Javier's list, he does have some heavy hitters, right? He's got Phyrexian Scriptures. He's got Fight with Fire. You probably want to have some way to interact with those cards.
Once I saw Phyrexian Scriptures, I'm bringing in Unwind. But
Yeah, just
I'm in, yeah.
There were also 3 divinations.
So a different play here, little play pattern here from Javier Dominguez as he casts Divest. He had a Syncopate there for Sigrist's first play, and then he just did run out the Academy Drake this time. He's not fussing around with waiting to kick it. We saw him be very patient before and try to basically only cast it with Kicker. In fact, I don't think we saw him in either. We get to check in on some level in each of his matches. I don't think I've seen him play it for not Kicker yet.
And that was a really big divest. Mike Sigrist doesn't really have a whole lot left in the tank here. He's got that Academy Journey Mage, but we do know that Javier does have a Syncopate, right?
He does. Also, I don't know if you want to send that Drake pack in. It might come back bigger later, right?
Right.
Each pack. That's great.
All right, let's just draw some cards here. Find something else.
It's a regular hug fest down there between Sigrist and Javier. They're like, you draw a card? No, you go for it, too. All right. Now, interestingly, Sigrist does have Blessed Light in his hand, so he does have another permanent answer to a threat, but he's going to be patient.
So this is, I believe, in response. But now that he cast the Opt, Javier does not have the ability to... syncopate this Pegasus Courser.
I think he might not have Syncopate in his hand.
Oh, okay. Maybe he does not have Syncopate in hand. Okay.
Yeah, I think
that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think it's just Deep Freeze.
Okay.
He did just draw Hammered Explorer, which really can fuel his graveyard stuff. Like, if Mike is going to use Deep Freeze and Blessed Light, well, you could just mill yourself and get creatures in the yard that you can get back.
Yeah,
just
that
get
is one way to do it.
Although, once again...
Windgrace Acolyte Light.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, very light.
Very light.
Yeah. But interestingly, Dominguez, again with the mana issues, he still only has the one black source.
And he milled a swamp. And
that's actually important.
No, that is important. He's
got,
like you said, 6 black sources in his deck.
That's right.
He's holding this. He's got the Scriptures and Kazarov in hand, so he does need to find that second black source. If he finds it soon enough, you know, it is quite strong. Ooh, one mode you see less often. I believe Mike Sigrist has it in his hand. I think he has a Blessed Light in hand.
He does, yeah.
You can use Blessed Light to actually remove enchantments, which would be an answer to the Phyrexian Scriptures that Javier has in his deck.
Wow, Blessed Light is so good against Javier.
Right.
Because he gives you the time to cast it. It exiles so he can't get his stuff back, and it even hits his best card that's not a creature. Yeah, that's...
Mike is just like, you know what? We're both just drawing cards. I don't care. I need to get your life total down. My deck's great. It's all good.
No, Mike's on the mill plan.
Oh, right, of course, of course. Yes.
He's like, if we both draw cards, but you play 3 divinations and Hammered Explore yourself, I like where I'm at.
Plan C. Oh, okay, so there's the Scriptures.
This is big time.
And Mike does have that Blessed Light. I think he's going to use it.
He's going to have to use it.
I guess he does have a Howling Golem in play, so he will only lose 2 creatures. But then at the same time, the Hammered Explorer will still be on the battlefield.
And it's a 4/4 now?
Yeah.
Well, There's no time to do everything he wants, but he did just draw a Journey Mage, so he can take care of the Explorer the next turn.
Oh, sure, sure.
You know, so he could set up the 1-2 punch of go for Blessed Light just to keep my board state alive, and then play an Academy Journey Mage, bounce your Explorer, and maybe get in for a real hit of damage.
Right.
But I'm curious to see how Mike navigates this. These are the spots that I love the most about watching players of Mike's caliber navigate these games. Can he get away with that? Is that the right? That to me is the most on the front, on the surface line, but there's other things he can do, and he is going to go for it.
And if you notice, you know, he's doing this main phase instead of Javier Dominguez's upkeep. Oftentimes, you cast a spell on your opponent's upkeep to tax their mana for counters, but the counter that he knows Javier has in his deck is Syncopate. And as a result, he doesn't want Javier to untap and have the mana to Syncopate that Blessed Light.
Good, clean play there from Sigrist, and it does work. And there's Kazarov hitting the battlefield.
Kazarov always just... It just keeps getting blown out, though, by this Academy Journey Mage. I believe Mike also has an Academy Journey Mage in hand.
He does.
So Mike just is playing exactly what the blue-white deck wants to do. It's just this tempo strategy, and it's going exactly according to plan.
Can he kill him? No, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Not quite. But he's gonna knock Javier down to 3 here.
With 5 creatures on the battlefield.
That's right. And he's going to be facing down 1 when he passes a turn.
Yep.
And these tempo plays
this is just way too much.
Rushing for Javier Dominguez. We both liked Mike's side of this matchup, and you're getting a chance to see why right now. Dominguez just has too much air.
Right.
He just has too many cards in his deck that don't do anything.
And Dominguez has a Fight with Fire in hand, but he doesn't have 8 mana on the board. He needs 9 mana to kick the Fight with Fire to get rid of those cards on the battlefield. So I don't think there's a... It seems really difficult for Javier to get out of this.
Yeah, he'd need multiple removal spells. Wow, even then, like even if he kills Journey Mage, he's still just facing lethal.
Yeah.
Even with his blocker.
Yeah, he needed 1 more turn. That aggressive Merfolk Trickster is kind of what's making the difference here. That Mike Sigrist played at the end of Javier's last turn.
Yeah, it was brilliant stuff from Mike to really just get in and make sure that this Fight with Fire doesn't become relevant, because now Javier knows, all right, I can cast Kazarov. I'm just dead.
Right. Javier does have a Journey Mage, which does shut off 2 creatures in a turn. If he does have a Journey Mage in hand. And then he also has either Fight with Fire or Deep Freeze, which is a way to deal with another creature.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Sorry.
It doesn't look like he has an Academy Journey Mage. Okay, I didn't think so.
Oh, they updated? Okay,
yeah, okay,
well.
so it's been updated. So no Journey Mage in Dominguez's hand, and his mana is super taxed, and all Mike Sigrist needs to do is send in all the creatures, and he should have this one.
Yeah, now Sentinel of the Pearl Trident doesn't actually save Dominguez, does it?
Right, it just adds an extra creature onto the battlefield, but again, 5 creatures are getting in, right? Even if the 2 smallest creatures get in, which is the Courser and one of the 2 power creatures, that's still 3. And given that Javier's at 3, that will be a lethal attack.
I wonder if Mike's considering if he can not attack with the Golem here. Because there's still one unknown piece of information, right?
Sure, but at the same time, Javier needs to have basically the ability to play 2 spells this turn to interact with creatures, which is really unlikely.
Yeah, he's got to get in.
It would have to be something like a Vicious Offering plus
another
thing.
Vicious Offering, yeah. I mean, a Shivan
Fire.
Yeah. But he doesn't have either half of that piece, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So trigger this.
Fine. Yeah.
It has flying.
Javier's like, all right, got to find something.
Yeah, he just finds another land, and we're gonna see Mike Sigrist win this game here, defeat Javier Dominguez.
We didn't even get to see his rares. He's got a Tempest Jin and a Zahid in his deck.
Yeah, he didn't need him. Yeah, there's no combination of blocks that allow Javier to survive, and he's going to have to extend the hand. And Mike Sigrist, one of the limited masters in our field, shows his skills to the world. 3-0 to kick things off for his world championship. But you know what? I'm not going to lie. If I'm Javier, I'm like, okay. Like, I'll take a 2-1.
After that draft, it's like into dark. It's like, would you take a 2-1? He's like, heck yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was pretty much down to that, being good to me or whatever.
No, yeah, I think the matchup is probably super good for you.
What's even grosser is that turn. If you somehow survive, that was going to go Zahid Tempest. I drew that from
Wow, did you hear that?
So
You
he
said
actually
didn't need his rares. He drew both. One of them had in hand and then one off the golem.
Golem. So it's like, even if you had the answer, still had all these.
Wow, let's take a look at Gregors Kowalski. He's playing against Owen Turtenwald, both of them 2-0 in their pod, and again trying to secure this critical 3-0 start. The records that we look at to make it to the top 4 at a tournament like this end up being somewhere around the 9-5 range. That's kind of that's where you're really in the mix. Anything better than that, and you're usually in. Anything worse, and you're usually out. Boy, starting off 3-0, extremely powerful. Here we go from Owen Turtenwald. He's playing Wizards Lightning on this Aven Sentry. What are the life totals? 17-14? Okay.
And we're currently in a game 3 here. Ooh, what is this?
What is this? Blessed Light.
Okay.
He's just going to do it while the mana's down. But he's still going to lose his primary threat. But he does get to take Owen Turtenwald's primary threat along the way.
Myself. So I draw 3 and then I mill 3.
Ooh, but
Weight of memory now for Owen Turtenwald. Now, while this doesn't necessarily get him going immediately,
right,
it fuels him for the coming turns.
yeah, and this,
it's a major
this game
problem for Kowalski.
kind of looks like one of those kind of grindier matchups where both players are just kind of trading resources. So Weight of Memory going to do a lot of work here.
16.
Pegasus Courser knocks Turtenwald down
What do
to
we got here?
16. Oh, my favorite card in the whole format.
Yeah.
Kaboom! The Eldest Reborn has hit the battlefield. Now, it's only going to take out a little 2-2, but it does so much more. Next turn,
Right.
Owen's going to have to discard a card. The turn after that, look at that graveyard from Turtenwald. Gregors has to find something sweet in there.
Yeah, it's just one of the best uncommons in the set. Guaranteed 3-for-1, pretty much.
Yep.
And yeah, at the end of the day, you just being able to get the biggest creature in the graveyard back as well does a lot of work. So Owen,
Yeah. And that's actually the most important part here, because it only killed a 2-2 on Owen's side. It wasn't like a devastating blow in that way. It made Owen discard a card, but he had just resolved Divination plus Weight of Memory. He had cards to discard, but he's going to be able to get back some big creature here. And the worst thing for Owen is if Gregors has put stuff in his deck to be able to get back the Eldest Reborn, because I'll tell you what feels better than the first one, and that's the second one.
a tragic poet.
Indeed. That's one of the ways to do it for sure.
Owen's hand, not a lot of aggression, but a lot of answers. Multiple fiery interventions and a radiating lightning.
And it looks like he's just going to go for one right now. Does Kowalski have any way to interact? No.
Nope. And now we get to see what the best creature in the graveyard is. Owen does have a gigantic graveyard here,
Yep.
as he did play that Weight of Memory, which has also helped fuel his graveyard.
Yeah, there's also Memorial to Folly here for Kowalski, which could be his plan just to use it.
Right.
Gregor's taking a look at the graveyards and trying to decide his best plan of action.
All right, what are we getting? Gregor's hand also looks quite strong. I see an On Sarah's Wings
Yes.
and an Eviscerate.
Yeah, his hand's very good, but what does he need? A threat.
Oh, and look at that. I don't know if that was main deck, but that card looks really, really solid against Owen's deck, who's just chock full of red burn spells for
Which one?
removal.
Oh,
he's got a
Healing
Healing
Grace.
Grace in hand.
Yes, that has actually proven to be a fairly powerful sideboard card, especially for a card that's, well, you look at it and you kind of just go, eh.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately here for Kowalski, the best thing he can get back with his Memorial at this point is a Mesa Unicorn. Not particularly powerful.
That's interesting, because I believe he had an Aven Sentry. Oh, okay, I see. He's getting the Aven Sentry back.
Yeah, mana efficiency.
Oh, okay. Got it.
This one's free.
Got it.
So he has the Aven Sentry. He can play the Unicorn.
Oh, it looks like he just wants to, flood the board. So he can play the Unicorn, and he has a Courser in hand, too.
Oh, boy. Well, he went from no board state to quite a formidable board state, and he's given Owen Turtenwald a lot of threats to try to deal with now.
Yeah, and all Owen had from what we saw was the Fiery Intervention. So, but it looks
That's
like
Zahid.
but he drew a Zahid. But Gregor Kowalski does have an Eviscerate here, so he's got all the answers.
Bye-bye, Birdie. Send that one to the graveyard. crunching for a bunch of damage here. 6 plus 2 lifelink in there as well. And Owen's going to have to now use a removal spell, probably on the Sentry, as it's just the highest power creature.
Right.
If Owen tries to use the removal spell on anything other than it, he's going to be sad.
Yeah, he should not point it at the Courser.
Yes, the Courser would unlock that Healing Grace for Gregor Skowalski.
Yeah, I imagine he's probably going with the Sentry, as it is just the biggest power creature on the battlefield. Oh, but he's
Wrong.
not. Oh, no.
Watch this blowout.
This is
This is
one of the
you wanna
best Healing
do.
Graces I've seen.
He
With the
says-
sticks. Oh.
So the source that he's choosing is, of course, Fire Intervention. He's also going to gain 3 life, but that's 5 mana for 1.
Right.
And those are the type of exchanges that are very difficult to come back from.
Now this is 6 damage in the air with the Sentry, with the Courser, and the Unicorn.
And he also has the opportunity to run out the Ansara's Wings if he feels like the way is clear. He drew Knight of Grace for the turn. He's going to be patient. He has kept that Ansara's Wings in hand for the entire game. He has had multiple opportunities to deploy it, but has decided against it.
The thing is, even if Owen has a removal spell here, what is he going to point it at, right?
Right.
He's got to get that Courser off the board. And, I mean, Owen is currently just dead on board. And Gregor can even just fire off the Sarah's Wings. And even if Owen has a removal spell, Owen's still going to die to both the Avian Sentry and the Courser with the other 2/2 on the battlefield. So.
That's right. Yeah, he doesn't actually need the Ansara's Wings to present 2 different lethal sets of attackers.
It would present 3 lethal attackers, however, so might as well go for it with Owen having only 1 card in hand.
I agree.
Yeah. Gregor just making sure.
For Owen. He knows he's waiting to die, but, you know, Owen's not the type to concede.
Right.
Sure.
He's going to give it to the one that doesn't already have lifelink. And there's no Cryptic Command in Owen Turnwald's future here. And that's going to do it. Gregor Kowalski, welcome to the World Championship. One of the more well-respected European pros. And this is his first time battling at the World Championship. And he has just started off 3-0 and defeated the player who many have as one of the better in the field with Owen Turnwald to get to that point as well.
Yeah, Owen has just consistently been excellent. You know, over the past 6-7 years, maybe 5 or 6 years, he's just been one of the best players in the world, and he's just never slowed down. He's been at the World Championships almost every single year.
Yep. All right, well, we're going to get a little live look in here from one of our tables. They actually didn't even start in the feature match here. We moved them over special just so we get a chance to watch game number 3 of Wyatt Darby versus Matt Severa. And let's see what they're working with here. Well, not a whole lot so far. Looks like a green-black mirror.
Ooh, and a turn to Elfame Druid.
Yeah, that is one of the more explosive cards in the format, allowing you to make 2 mana if you're going to cast a spell for its kicked mana cost. It also just taps for 1 mana on its own.
Right.
And this can lead to some of those draws where you just simply fall too far behind too quickly, though it looks like in this case, at least this turn, that's not the case.
Yeah, some of the more common ways to abuse the mana are cards like Caligo Skinwitch and Baloth Gorger. Those are some of the heavy hitters.
He did cast a Deathbloom Thallid on his side, a fine 3 mana play, though. When you have access to 5 mana for a kicker card, you'd be pretty stoked to do that.
Very interesting that Matt just had no plays for the first 4 turns.
A little confused by it.
Yeah.
He also took the damage here from the Thallid, so perhaps
Oh.
we'll see a dark bargain from him.
That's a Slimefoot.
Okay, so Slimefoot the Stowaway hits the battlefield. All right, there is a dark bargain. That's what I would be thinking if I was Wyatt Darby. Like, it's got to be dark bargain here. But still, if I was Wyatt, I'd be like, great.
Yeah, but this is this is a tough spot. I mean, Wyatt has a good board. He's got the Slimefoot along with the Deathbloom Thallid, and he has a Candle on the battlefield with 5 mana in play. So Matt's got to be thinking, you know, there's a really good shot that Wyatt has another mana source. So you can't just sit back and just play a large creature next turn and expect it to live, meaning that you're going to take a large chunk of damage.
Yeah, another hit for 5 here. Interestingly, Severa's going to put Windgrace Acolyte in his graveyard. This would have been turn 5. Windgrace Acolyte is usually quite strong. But he's going to use Broken Bond to kill the Candle, which is going to get him an additional land drop. But no play yet.
What is happening?
Well, he has Onsera's Wings in his hand on a splash, and his other 2 creatures, they're 6 drops.
Okay, so
But
this
I
is
like
a game
what I'm
plan.
seeing here.
Look at this. Look at his hand. He's got a Primordial Worm in hand with
man.
Onsera's Wings. So if he can pull that off.
I love it.
Oh.
By the way, I saw your eyes light up as you were like, wait a second. 8 powered lifelink flying vigilance. I'm in.
Wyatt does need to end the game.
Is that a Mishra's self-replicator that he just played?
Yeah. That is just I've seen that so many of that card now. Does
Okay,
Wyatt
Paul.
actually have an answer?
Stage 1, Primordial Worm is on the battlefield.
Stage 1 complete. Does Wyatt have a removal spell here for the worm?
If he has 2 Settle the Score in hand, okay.
No, the dream is dead.
And it's gone. And unfortunately, this means that Severa, unless he draws something else, is going to be compelled to just run out the Pardic Wanderer and lose the game. Yeah, that's going to do it.
Wow.
All right, so Wyatt Darby picks up the win there. That was game number 3 for him. Now, our players in this match, we're sitting at 1 game apiece, so that's a 1-2 start for Severa and a 2-1 start for Darby as they start to turn their focus towards the constructed portion of the tournament, standard in this case.
Yeah, and excited to see what the players bring for the standard portion of the tournament.
The Glory Bringer himself.
I expect a decent amount of that card being played. Yeah.
Glory Bringer?
Just the actual Glory Bringer.
Yeah. I feel like there would be at least some type of crime if Wyatt Darby doesn't put 4 Glory Bringer in every deck he can until he can't anymore.
Just start main decking it, right? Just might as well. Yeah, but Matt Severa, that, I mean, you have to feel a little bit sad, right? You look at that hand, you're just like, when you're just holding those 2 cards, it's like just a wombo combo. You're like, please, just don't have anything. I killed your Candle. I'm setting this up, man. Just let me get it in. But I mean, Wyatt just had all the answers. He had a great draw that game.
I mean, because you know how it is. If that Primordial Worm gets in once with the Onsera's Wings, it's just a game changer.
Absolutely.
Right? It's such a huge life total swing that you may be able to just ride that to victory, even if you don't get to keep it around for very long.
Right. But, you know, part of the cost of playing those giant overcosted creatures is, you know, when you do run into those the removal spells, right? You get to you trade down in mana. You know, you're spending huge turns. I mean, we even saw it in the previous matchup where, you know, Academy Journeymage just did so much work against Kazarov, right? Just those tempo plays.
Oh yeah. Looks like we're going to bring Marcio Carvalho and Greg Orange into the main table here to see what they're up to.
Ooh, how many assembly workers or assembly tokens are we going to see this time around?
No kidding. That's Kevin Dupre there, one of our judges. He's going to need to go find a stack of those. Yeah, so we saw 3 of them in the feature match area.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that. I would not have guessed that. But
same.
I mean, it looked really impressive in Greg Orange's deck. I mean, he got it up to 12 tokens in that previous match.
And then lost.
Hey, look, I just appreciate, you know, when people can do things that you don't see on a regular. You know, look, Marshall, we've played so much Magic in our life. Whenever we just see something just that unusual, you just have to get excited.
No, you're right. You're right. It was sweet. Baird was over there with his hand up, though.
It's like, nope, sorry. Yeah, I wonder if that could have been potentially a different game if the Baird wasn't on the battlefield and if Greg was just like, you know what, I can't win unless I just start getting in with all my tokens. So we know Greg Orange is on black-white. Historic. Very historic.
Yes. Going deep into the past.
Looks like Marcio's on a black-green deck.
He's made a last-minute sideboard change here, it looks like, though.
Wow, look at that Grand Prix win rate there. 70%. Incredible.
Boy.
Yeah.
Also, he's top-aided 15 of 75 Grand Prix.
Yeah, very, very high conversion rate. Greg Orange with the 1 PT top 8, but making it count. Team Pro Tour champions. Oh, he has part 1 of the combo. He's got the Voltaic Servant. Needs to find the Traxos.
He's got the bad part.
Yeah. What do wait, what? The MVP part, or? Yeah.
All right, looks like we're underway here, and this is, of course, a game number 3 between these two players. Similar to our last match, they're coming in here at 1-1 and looking to exit with a positive strategy. But here we go again. Marcio Carvalho now the one with Elfheim Druid, and that is a type of card, once again, that can lead to absolutely explosive starts. Oh, and look at this. Marcio says, you know what? I'm not taking the 1.
Yeah.
And you can't blame him. It's
right.
a free attack. Greg just has to attack, but he's going to take advantage of that block, and he's going to use Gideon's approach to just take out the Druid.
Yeah. And that's got to be a little bit disappointing for Marcio, because I do see a Baloth Gorger in his hand.
Wow.
And that Elfheim Druid would have gone a long way to help kick that card.
It's just such a tough pill to swallow, especially that card.
Right.
Like,
and again, we talk about how, like, you know, even though you know your opponent has the combat trick, oftentimes it is correct to just make him use it and slow them down.
That's right. It's just for 1 damage when it's an Elfheim Druid.
Yeah. And, you know, Baloth Gorger, just 4 mana, 4/4, still a very, very solid rate.
Still works. There's that guy again.
All right, there it is.
And he's going to tap down the Gorger, but no attack. Howling Golem, boy, he's seen a lot of play here. You know, not on its own merit, to be fair. Howling Golem on his own isn't really a card you want to have in your deck, but for a historic trigger, good enough.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, I believe Rich Hagon actually touched briefly on the contents of Marcio's deck. You know, we talk about how Marcio typically likes drafting very aggressive decks, low mana curve, but he's actually going big this time around. He's got multiple copies of Thorn Elemental along with a Verdant Force to top off his curve.
Boy, losing that Elfheim Druid could be really important.
Right. But you just can't give people free damage, because you know what? I bet Marcio just in his lifetime has snuck in so much free damage.
Totally.
Trying to represent combat tricks. He's like, not going to happen to me.
And we're going to see kicked
goodness.
Gifts of Growth, and that is going to take out the board here for Greg Orange. Wow.
Just a clean 3-for-1.
What a blowout for a combat trick, too. He didn't even use an actual removal spell. And it's not going to get better for Greg Orange. He's going to play Sanctum Spirit, but on the other side, Vicious Offering in hand for Marcio is the one clean way to kill that. Doesn't even matter if they discard a historic card to it. And that's exactly what he does. Plays his land for the turn. He's got 7 damage minimum. And he could actually make it 10 with Wild Onslaught. Bang!
Just an aggressive Wild Onslaught.
Yeah, how about half your life total, friend?
Yeah, 2-turn clock.
Wow, Marcio Carvalho is just hostile in the feature match area here. Getting a clean 3-for-1 and now slamming in for half of Greg's life total in one fell swoop. Is there anything Greg can even do here?
Greg's hand is just full of like very, very good 5-mana spells, but he hasn't been able to find that 5th land. I see a Serra Angel. I think there's a Blessed Light as well, but not quite enough. And, you know, Marcio in one of those situations, he's got a Thorn Elemental in hand with 6 lands in play. Any draw is a good draw.
Greg is going to actually just play Rite of Belzenlock to get 2 little clerics to block with.
We're in chump block mode currently.
Yeah, I probably just trying to buy time for that 5th land like you were talking about. Boy, oh boy.
Oh.
Marcio calmly just sends the squad into the red zone. We're just going to see...
He's just going to block one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's going to go to 5, and here it is.
And that is a Thorn Elemental right on curve here for Marcio Carvalho. And that thing's lethal no matter what blocks happen. And that's going to do it. Marcio Carvalho comes away with a 2-1 record from Booster Draft. And Greg Orange, well, he's going to have to settle for a 1-2, not where he wants to be.
That Gift of Growth, though, that was ridiculous.
I mean, that
just the 3-for-1.
It's an okay card. I've never seen it get a 3-for-1.
Right. I mean, despite everything, Greg was still stuck on 4, couldn't find a 5th, so he probably would have gotten run over. But that was one of the better Gift of Growths like we've ever seen.
Yeah, it was like triple block. And then Marcio was like,
triple block, cross fingers, hope.
No.
I mean, you know what? Over the course of the match, he's probably seen cards like Vicious Offering or maybe even a Wild Onslaught. And maybe he was trying to play around stuff like that. But I guess he just did not expect the gift of growth on that one turn. But wow, that was huge.
It's exactly what Marcio had, and boy, did he use it to good effect, taking down 3 creatures with 1 combat trick and then putting 10 power on the board total the very next turn. That is going to do it for the booster draft portion here on day number 1. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be gearing up for Standard. Don't you go anywhere.